Hi, Dawn.
Yes.
Dawn, hi, my name's Jamie Flanagan.
Hello, Jamie.
Hi, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us today. I'm a journalism teacher in Michigan. I'm at Michigan State University right now with about 350 journalism students.
Is that in Flint or Lansing?
Lansing.
Lansing. Oh, I've
Yeah.
been there. I played in the theater there years ago.
Yeah. And I'm here with 10 of them in an entertainment coverage class, and we found you entertaining. So with, they were really hoping they could ask you some questions.
What an interesting class. Are they film majors or theater majors or TV majors or what are their majors?
So these are high school journalism students.
Oh, high school journalism. What a great time to start. Okay, I'm ready.
So all right, we're going to turn it over to them.
Hi, my name is Kelly Krajewski. I'm from Cincinnati. I go to Lakota East High School. Is it okay if we record this interview?
Of course.
All right, thank you. My first question is, obviously you were on Gilligan's Island. It was a really successful show, and your character, her personality, mannerisms, everything were really well known. Do you feel that you were pigeonholed in your career by this perception of your character?
Yes, I'd say 80%, not 100%. In the film industry, you are typecast more so than on stage. It's very hard to create a different image when you're really close up with a camera. And because that character is so renowned all over the world, the first thing I did after the series went off the air was go back to doing theater and go back to doing stage work, so I wouldn't just be pigeonholed playing that same character.
Thank you. Are there aspects of your personality that actually align with Marianne's?
Very much so. I was raised by a Marianne mother. I came from Reno, Nevada, where there's gambling and divorce and prostitution legally, so it's a very different upbringing than Marianne. But my mother raised me very well, and I was raised with a wonderful group of friends. So I'm very much a Marianne. I've written a book about what would Marianne do today in this world, and we don't want to forget about compassion and manners and finishing a job that you start and paying attention to things around you. And I think that's what Marianne was. I think she was the moral compass of that cast.
Looking back on your career, are there roles that you had the opportunity to take, positions that you could have filled that you didn't take and now you wish you would have?
No. I think it's more the problem of trying to get the role you want to do, and you do other roles that aren't exactly the most fulfilling. But no, I've never been offered like a sleazy movie or something like that. No, I didn't have anything that I'd wish I turned down.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Hi, Marianne. I am Deanna Howard from Cass Tech, and I would like to know, with the clothing you wear, were you ever insecure about your body?
Always. Always. I was always plump. All through high school, I was always we used to have a department called, I don't know what it was called, chubby section or something like that. So I was not thin, and I wanted to be a dancer, and my knees prevented that. So I didn't play any sports. It was hard for me to kind of keep in shape, but I wasn't really over. I mean, I'd maybe join a club and water aerobics is what I did mostly. But yeah, very much aware of it, and I think you had to be disciplined because I was in pretty skimpy clothes. You couldn't go out and have pizza and beers.
Were there ever any negativity with the fans or anything about what you wore?
No, and truthfully, it's probably hard for you all to understand your age, but it was the first short shorts on television. You couldn't show my navel. The shorts, if you look closely, I designed them, kind of came up in the front, and the denim Levi material was really soft, so it hugged your body, and I also made the sides dip down so my waist would look longer, and the legs dipped up on the sides so my legs would look longer. It's illusion, and all those little things are important. Once you get into the film industry, it isn't just about acting; it's about the image of what you're portraying. And one of the things I said in a boot camp that I formed was, what's your image? And your image has to be sustainable. I mean, we can all be an Al Pacino or something way off base, But it's a discipline about everything about you. Your grooming, your body, your complexion, your voice. I even tried to lower my voice when I got out of Gilligan's Island because I thought my voice was awful squeaky. You're looking at yourself, you're the product, and it's called show business. The art has to be there. The talent has to be there. But packaging what you're packaging is really important.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Kelly again. I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about that boot camp. Was it about acting or about your career?
Well, it was. I found that once you're in Hollywood, you find out that it's pretty much typecasting. There's very few, if only a handful of Meryl Streeps that can do everything. So you're finding your image is the most important thing. We assume you come with talent. There are people that now they come for reality shows, which is so silly. But they used to be made stars because they were beauties. And they would go to a school at Metro Golden Mayer and teach them how to act as well. Then it became where the craft is the most important thing. Your talent is the most important thing. What's your type? I mean, you know the image of Marianne. If I walked into a room and let's say there's 5 actresses that are equally as talented, just a little bit of chemistry between the two of them, and they were casting a tall, slim Swedish maid, you would never give me the part. I wouldn't even look at it. It would take so much to get me to try to look at it. It wouldn't be worth it. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I did was a series called Redigo, and they cast me as a Korean. And I said, with my round eyes, are you kidding me? Well, they tried real hard the first day or two and said, you're right, you can't play a Korean. So it's body image and image of yourself is an important thing. I forgot what your question was. I've been talking so long. Sorry.
It was about the boot camp you mentioned.
Oh, the boot camp. So the boot camp was bringing you as an actress out of high school or out of college, wherever you are, to help you market yourself. Know how to read a contract. Know what's authentic. Know what's legal and not legal. Know what you don't have to do. And then we worked in front of the camera with you. Nowadays, I think schools have cameras. They didn't have cameras when I was in high school. We did at my college, but not very, at Stevens, but not like they do today. But learn all of that stuff and then make the move to Hollywood or New York and basically to Los Angeles. How do you go about going to a casting director's office and reading? One of the things I say to you girls, what do you look best in? If red is your best color and you look better with bangs and a ponytail and you look better in tennis shoes than high heels, that's what you wear. And you wear that to every audition if you want to. They're not going to see you in the same outfit. You don't try to dress in costume. You know, I mean, it's find out who you are really, and who you are comes through your eyes and through your talent. Yes, you get a chance to play all the other characters. It's fun to play all the things that you probably wouldn't be cast on. You coming out of college wouldn't be cast as an old lady. So you could grow into that. I have, but I mean, you have to market who you are, and that's what the camp was about. I mean, there were people who'd never kissed anybody before. And one girl, it was a very cute story. She was Mormon. She said, I don't kiss anybody. I said, okay. So then we tried to see how we could make the when she was leaving the boy in the pickup truck and shake hands and kind of a hug. And by the end of the day, she said, oh, I can do that. It only lasts about 3 or 4 seconds. So it's about relaxation in who you are, being prepared in the role in the script. That's you as an actress or an actor's responsibility. And then know something about the character that she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't. I don't think she'd do that. She wouldn't shave her head. She wouldn't, you know. And then you kind of, as you grow, you'll see more and more what you can contribute. Sometimes the director tells you exactly what he wants you to do, and you have to be able to do it.
Who's next? Somebody jumped on in.
Hi, Marianne. My name is Bailey Borman. I go to Rochester High School in Michigan. My question is about your book. What gave you the inspiration for the book, and who's the target audience?
Well, I think the target audience is kids your age. I think the purchaser, most likely, is your mother or your aunt or your older sister or your grandmother, because I think it's a great thing to read together. I think it's also good for boys. The reason I wrote it is Gilligan's Island has been on 50 years. I have been all over the world and recognized all over the world. And there's always, as silly as it is, there's always a debate between Ginger and Marianne. Are you a Ginger fan or a Marianne fan? Now, as girls, we probably always wanted to be a Ginger fan because of how glamorous she could be. But Mary Ann would have been your best friend. Mary Ann would have tried to take your boyfriend away. If she wouldn't have cheated on a test, or she'd have helped you clear the table when you're having company. The debate then became between Ginger and Mary Ann with the guy. And Mary Ann always won because she would have been your best friend. She'd have gone to prom with you. She'd have helped you out if you tried to fix your car or do something. She wasn't high maintenance. And how many times I've signed autographs and fathers bring their kids up, high school age, a little younger, and say, I had to have my kids meet you. I married a Mary Ann. I married a Mary Ann. In Vietnam, I would get letters from soldiers saying, I've got your picture in my helmet because I want to go home and marry the girl next door. So I thought that character really has something to say. And it's harder to say it today than when we were on the air because you all have the wonderful opportunities of having your electronics, and very seldom do you look into each other's eyes when you're saying something. You're typing it instead. And we forget just common courtesies. We forget how important it is to finish a job that you start. We forget manners. We forget who you really are. And you're at the age where, boys and girls, you're getting to know who you really are and what you stand for and what you mean to yourself and how you fit into society. And it's all the mores that are out there that are being measured. You know, they censored my shorts. That was the first time on television. Well, look what you see nowadays. I mean, it's so different. We were protected. You are not protected. So at an early age, you have to make some decisions. And it's very interesting when you're in the theater because plays tell you things. Plays have messages. Those writers just didn't write it just to be funny. So as you're studying the acting end of it, study what it's saying. And you then are the conduit of creating that for the audience to understand. You may be playing the bad guy, but then you're making sure that they know this is really a bad guy. I mean, it's an exciting career or interest that you all have. And I think it's terrific that your professor's letting you talk to somebody it's also called show business. It's a profession. It requires, you can't just be good and not show up to rehearsal or, stay out all night. I did a pilot for Fran Drescher, and I was about to leave for Africa and didn't even know I was doing it. And it was Mary Ann growing up as a landlady of an apartment house with two young actors trying to get work. And every time my character wanted to go to a premiere or something, I'd have them escort me. Well, we worked one day, and the one young boy that got cast, he was 19, went out that night, had a good time, came back with his arm tattooed from his shoulder to his wrist on his fingers, and she couldn't cover his arm with a costume. So we lost the job. And I said, that's a really good example. Hey, I'm in Hollywood now, and this is what everybody's doing. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You can't play the King of England with tattoos in the back of your hand. So it's a discipline. It's a discipline as well.
Okay, and then my second question is, do you have any projects you are currently working on?
Yes, I'm just rehearsing for Driving Miss Daisy, which I'm going to go out in probably end of February. I'm in the face of MeTV for the summer. I just finished a pilot called Life Interrupted. I don't know whether it's going to sell or not. And I just closed in Love, Lost, and What I Wore in Laguna Beach. And I'm just finishing up my second book, which is a cookbook. So I am busy. I'm 110 years old, but I'm still working.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kayla Torres from Clarenceville High School, and you mentioned your love for theater. I was just curious, the obvious differences between, your role in Gilligan's Island and your roles in theater. Like, what were your favorite parts of both venues?
Well, I think that's a very, very good question. I think if you could take the favorite part of the Gilligan's Island was the steady work. That was huge. You have no idea when you take a series whether it will click or not. So the fact that we've never been off the air. We're one of the longest running shows in the history of syndication. So we're still out there, and I can't go any place in the world without that recognition. That's good and bad. I'm not one that feels that she has to have a hair comb and lipstick on to go to the grocery store, so that's okay too. But that's a positive. The negative, there was no negative unless it could have gone on for 10 or 15 years where you might have missed doing some other things at that same age bracket that you're on. But the negative was trying to go back to the stage, and I went to New York to audition, and they said, what? There's a play called Vagina Monologue, and I wanted to replace one of the girls. I said, what? Mary Ann played that. Yeah. What has that got to do with who Dawn Wells is? Dawn Wells is the actress. Mary Ann was a part she played as well. So it was really hard to break that image. And to also show that you could do something more than a sitcom. I mean, I just did two summers ago, I did Lion and Winter. It took a long time to let them understand that I could play the role because you are so identified. I mean, you look at Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
That's who you see. You can't imagine her playing an old biker. Well, Meryl Streep's coming out with him right now playing a biker, but she could do anything.
She can do anything, yeah.
Yeah, she can. It's amazing, isn't it? Gosh, it's just, I'm in awe. I would love to watch her rehearsal process.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And I had another question for you. I was just curious, what has kept you passionate and motivated throughout your lengthy and successful career?
I'm just passionate and motivated about life.
Oh.
And I'm very lucky to be working at my age, but I'm also very lucky to be alive, and I'm very happy with what I do. And I think if I had gone a couple of years and hadn't gotten work, I'd do something else. I mean, I
Awesome.
could do the boot camp forever because I have a lot of advice to pass on, but every day is a blessing that we wake up and are healthy enough to do something that our passion sends us to do. And I think that's longevity, and it's also longevity in your job. It's longevity as a mother. If you're passionate about your children and what they do, that's always with you. If you love what you're doing and you happen to be an accountant and balancing books with the taxes, that's something that keeps you going. Find something you love and a passion and create a lot around it. And then again, I don't go out much with actors. I don't want to talk show business. I want to go talk about something else. I'm a news junkie. But I know where my craft is concerned while I was developing like you all, not at your age. I didn't even do it till I was in college. But when I was a debater, I was on the debate team, the United States debate team, so I could tell you both sides of everything.
Oh, wow. You're just into everything.
Not really, but I argue a good game. But I think it comes from inside you, and if you got problems inside of you, work through them. Everybody's got problems, you know. I used to say to my grandmother, "How do you and Grandpa get along so well?" She said, "Because if he got mad at me, I just went out and picked flowers." I went, "Oh, well, that's a pretty good solution." So it's within each of you. And you all don't come from necessarily the best places, but it's inside of you. I'll tell you a real quick story. Your teacher's probably going to have it fit. They were interviewing the 7 most successful people in the world or something about a couple years ago, and they were asking them what their motivation was. And one of the men, and I cannot tell you what business he was in, but he's very, very successful, said, "My memory of what made me who I am was my mother, and I was age 4. And he said, I wanted a glass of milk. And my mother was in the sink with her hands full of doing the dishes. And she said, well, you're old enough. You can get your glass of milk yourself. So he got his glass of milk out and poured it. Now, I don't know whether it was a big gallon or what it was, but he spilled it all over the floor. And he said, my mother just looked around and she smiled at me and she said, well, look at the mess you've made. You'll probably have to clean it up, so you may as well play in it as long as you want. He said, I got there, kind of slapped around the milk, and he said, then I wasn't irritated that I had to clean it up. And he said, as I grew up, I realized, you learn something in everything you do wrong, or you screw up, or you mix up. You learn something rather than going, oh, well, why did I do that? Look at it and see if there's a lesson there. And I think that advice has really stuck with me, and it's not hard to do, because you get emotionally carried away with something. Back away, because whatever adversities we have in our life, we have to overcome. You can't give up.
Yeah.
You have to find the best way. That's when you're developing a character. Sometimes in the character you're developing as an actress, there's an easy out, there's an easy way of doing it, and then there's another way. Look at Lucille Ball. Look at the way she does some of the stuff with her props. That's got to come with minutes of studying and coordination. And why does her mind go that direction rather than just making it easy and flopping it on the table? So you have whatever's inside of you, whether it's directing or building a set or costuming it or putting the music together with it, you have a way of creating something that as you grow older, more things come into your soul that you see in life. It's a great experience. I'm really glad you're doing this. Writing is a wonderful thing.
Hi, Dawn. This is Taylor. I go to Waverly High School, and I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Okay?
Did you carry any traits from Marianne from Gilligan's Island?
Yeah, sure, because I think a lot of the traits were mine. Is that what you're talking about? Traits or treats?
Like traits, like personality type things.
Yeah, because I am very much a Marianne.
Okay, and who is like your favorite coworker from the show?
Well, it's really hard to pick a favorite. I think the professor and I were very close, and the skipper and Gilligan and I were very close. So it's very hard to say that there was a favorite. I love Mrs. Howell. The least people I socialized with were Thurston Howell and Ginger. We lived in different areas of town, and our interests weren't quite the same. But we were a very accommodating cast. We liked each other a lot, and I think you saw that when you look at the film.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Dawn. My name is Ikea Lake from Cass Technical High School in Detroit, Michigan. And I would just like to ask you, how has your role in Gilligan's Island impacted your life today?
Oh, incredibly, because I can't go anywhere in the world where somebody doesn't know me. That's gratifying because people love the character of Marianne, and so I'm greeted with love. It's also a little difficult because they're watching your every move. I mean, I'm not a Miley Cyrus or something that, you see everything that she does, but so you really are a role model, I think, to behave. That's a good thing. So it's impacted my life very positively.
And were any of your other projects as big as Gilligan's Island?
Well, nothing has been that long. I've had other roles that I've played that I thought were more fulfilling to me as an actress, more of an expansion of my creativity, more of a touching of my soul than the character of Marianne. But I enjoyed her immensely, and I don't think she was very complex. I think she was very, very real, very truthful, very multidimensional, but not mixed up in the head. I think she was very practical and smart and kind and good, and that's a good thing to play.
So what character that you played moved you the most?
Well, that's a good one. That's a real good question. Moves me the most. I know that one of the roles I did in Lion and Winter, where I played Eleanor McIlvaine, the bitterness inside of her and all of that was very hard to emulate, to come from my soul. I don't hate anybody, and I couldn't imagine treating my sons that way, and that was a hard character to create. The one that moved me the most, boy, I don't think I can identify one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, honey.
Hi, Ben Ackley from Mason High School in Michigan. I was just wondering, did you ever get any creepy letters from guys?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And most of them were kind of nice, but not only the creepy letters, but as I went back to the theater and went on stage doing the national tour, I had some pretty crazy backdoor Johnnies, or whatever you call them. And truthfully, the two areas that were the most difficult were the night managers of the hotels and the security guards.
Do you have any examples, like stories you could share?
About that, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I had happened to be one of the women that I was traveling with. We shared the room. Sometimes we didn't, but we were sharing the room in a Holiday Inn, I think it was, one of those circle hotels where the outside is outside, not in an interior hallway. And I started getting obscene phone calls at about 1 in the morning. And I'd slam the phone down, and I'd slam the phone down, and I tried to call the desk to find out if somebody was asking for Dawn Wells, or were they just dialing a room number by mistake? Did they know what room I was in? I was glad somebody was with me. And finally, about 3:30 in the morning, I just pulled the phone out of the wall. And my friend and I put a chair in front of the door. Of course, it was dead bolted. And the next morning when I went to check out, I said, I probably owe you for the phone because I was having obscene phone calls. And she went, oh my God, I hope it wasn't that night manager.
Oh.
So that was pretty scary.
Wow.
I mean, I'm glad I wasn't alone, and you don't know you're vulnerable. You're in a town where you don't know a soul, 1 o'clock in the morning, 10th floor of a hotel. It's a little frightening.
And just as a last question, I was wondering if you'd ever heard of the song Stairway to Gilligan's Island?
Well, was it Led Zeppelin's kind of, was it his band that kind of put it together somehow?
It was like a novelty band, and they sung the lyrics to the Gilligan's Island theme over top of Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, no, I haven't heard that. Well, how would I ever get to hear that?
You could probably just look it up. You can find it on YouTube. You can't find it in records, though, because Led Zeppelin had, like, all of those destroyed.
Oh, he did, huh?
Yeah.
So I would go on YouTube and ask for it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Katie Johnson. I'm from Lakota East High School in Ohio, and I was wondering, like, with the outfits that you wore on Gilligan's Island, like, you were the first woman to wear, like, shorts. I was wondering if you ever felt objectified because of that.
No, I don't think we even knew what objectified was in my generation. You know, they had pinup girls during World War II in the short shorts and the high heels and the Betty Grabels and all of that. I think that was part of American culture in a healthy way. I think it's gone past the healthy way now in so many areas. I mean, now so many things are, I don't want to say accepted, but visible or out there that I think maybe that's why the censors were trying so hard to keep a handle on it. I mean, married couples always had twin beds. You couldn't show my navel. Ginger couldn't show her cleavage more than 3 seconds or 5 seconds or something. The censors tried to keep that in tow, I guess. I think we've gone too far in some areas. I really do. I really think we've gone too far. I think censorship is a very delicate issue.
Yes. And I was wondering, you said that everyone was always constantly saying, like, Ginger versus Mary Ann, and I was wondering how you felt, that people felt the need to constantly, like, put you up against each other.
Well, it's kind of funny. I don't think it happened when the show was airing. I think it happened in reruns. And I think it happened when those 14-year-old boys that have that first crush, I don't know what age those boys are, but freshman high school, with that age, I don't know, between 14, 16, or whatever it is, had a crush. Mary Ann was the girl because Ginger was scary. You know, you take her out dancing or something. And Mary Ann would have been your buddy. So when that guy got older, they'd say, okay, what were you? Were you, in their psyche, were you a Mary Ann guy or a Ginger guy? And then it just blossomed. Then it just took over. And I have a T-shirt a fan made for me that's really cute. It's a ballot. And it's a ballot where you put the check mark either besides Ginger or Mary Ann. And the back of the T-shirt says it's the ultimate dilemma. So I feel good about it because I always win. I mean, nobody's going to say to my face I prefer Ginger. So I prefer Mary Ann. So I just buy it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Dawn. I'm Alexis Richard, and I am from South Lyon High School. And I noticed that you're very busy with all of your different works, and I was just curious if you were involved in any charity work, any philanthropy?
Oh, yeah. I was with the Children's Miracle Network Telethon, co-produced and co-hosted for 15 years in Missouri. And I now run a family foundation in Reno called the Terry Lee Wells Foundation, and we, our focus is women and children in northern Nevada, and we support an awful lot of people in need, and we've also just financed and named a Discovery Children's Museum that's been built in downtown Reno, which is a wonderful thing for the city. So I'm very much, I'm a softie for anything. I was just noticing the other day, I cannot watch that commercial with the pets. I can't watch it. I mean, whoever picks the poor little animals, you see it in their eyes. I mean, the casting of that commercial is so real. I can't watch it, so I'm a softie for anything. Just knock on my door with a barrel, and I'll probably give you 20 cents.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good question.
Well, who else? Who's got jumping in there? All right, jump on it.
Hi, my name is Ariana Smith. I'm from Renaissance High School in Detroit, Michigan. And I wanted to ask you, I'm not sure how many of the cast members are still around and still active, but are you close with anyone that was on Gilligan's Island with you?
Well, we were all close as the years went by, but there are only two of us left, and that's Ginger and myself.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
professor passed away last year, and the rest have been gone for quite a while. So we, you know, when you work 14 hours a day, you don't socialize an awful lot. You kind of become close to the people that you're working closest to. Ginger and I had very few scenes together. Professor and I had many scenes together. So we all got along very well, and I'm sorry to say there's just two of us left.
Oh, I'm sorry. The next question is, are you proud of the legacy of Gilligan's Island that you're leaving behind for younger generations of Marianne, of the values on the show?
Absolutely. I'm very grateful for having been able to play that character and have her make such a difference. That's why my book, which is What Would Marianne Do? A Guide to Life, that's out right now, is what I'm saying about it. I mean, I think the show had a lot of messages. We all were 7 people from 7 walks of life trying to get along, and that's what's happening today in your all generation. You know, we have all this mixed everything, mixed families, mixed areas of town. I don't know whether they're still busing. You go back and forth to places that aren't your neighborhood. I mean, I think it's a very difficult time. 7 continents are trying to get along. And there was no bullying when I was in school. We didn't do that. But we had to be home at a certain hour. And we didn't have access to privacy that you all do with your electronics. It's a different world. And I tried to say that in my book. Marianne is a constant. What Marianne can do through her life, you all can do. She's dependable. If she fails again until she gets it right. She has manners. She wouldn't steal your boyfriend. She has morals. She has ethics. And I think it's important that people, that if somebody is still watching it, that message is still there. There's a reason it's been on the air so long. It's a bunch of misfits trying to get along. That's what we're all trying to do.
That's awesome. Seems like a good place to wrap it up there, Marianne. So what's the last question that we leave her with, right? Okay, you got one more?
One more.
All right, you got your follow-up. All right, go ahead.
All right, so this is my absolute last question. One of the things that we've covered here at the MIPA conference is we've been talking a lot about the abuse of like prescription drugs and how to prevent it and how to work through it. You're one of the celebrities that we haven't heard about you having any issues with addiction or any alcoholism or anything like that. And I'm just wondering, was it your background that helped you kind of like avoid the temptation that can sometimes lead to the tragic stories we hear? Was it the character you played? Do you have any idea about what maybe it could have been?
That's a very good question, and there's several reasons a lot of people. I think if you're living in a home with abuse and living in a home with alcoholic parents, etc., I think it's a lot harder to be able to maintain where you go because you don't necessarily see what's right and wrong. I was raised in Nevada, where there's gambling and you know, alcohol everywhere when I was growing up, but I was never tempted to do that. Some of the girls went out and had a beer bust or one of those things. My mother kept an eye on me. She knew where I was every single second. I came from divorced parents, but there was no don't have any liquor in the house. My father, when I was 14, said, "Here, I want you to know what liquor tastes like," and gave me a shot of scotch or bourbon or something that tasted so awful. It was so terrible. Why would anybody want that? But I also had a family that I respected, and there were laws that were laid down, rules that were laid down. No one would have beaten me up had I disobeyed them, but I respected my mother and father that way. And I think the people you hang around with are a big influence. I've never been invited to a cocaine party. I heard all about these Hollywood parties. Well, I've lived in Hollywood for a long time. I have never been included. I mean, I think you could go as low as you want. You can find anybody in the gutter with you. It's find the people that your level and up that you should surround yourself with. Everybody learns something from the people they're with. You can be a good influence to someone else. I don't think it's so hard. I think if you shoot up on heroin 1 or 2 times, maybe you're addicted. I don't know about that. You know, the diet pills were the worst thing in my generation. So you could try to get skinny, but they ruined your heart. So you guys are so much more tempted. But it's not hard to say no. And it's not worth one evening or 1 or 2 times to see what it's really like and then blow your brain. It really isn't. And if you're sensible, there's a sensible way of observing. So I think it's in your soul, and the friends you hang around with, and this book is good about saying no to a lot of things.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, but I'm really sorry I've talked so long.
No, my goodness, thank you. I'm sorry for keeping you so long. We appreciate.
I've enjoyed it, and the kids have great questions, and what a wonderful place you are to be as the flower starts to bloom. There you are. How wonderful.
They keep me young, that is for sure. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll send Harlan a link to the things that we come up with. And again, thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
All right, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.